since the GTO's body is already done, the GTO has an unfair head start on the Camaro, we're working on the Camaro's body now. Now, just a couple things I have to mention about the Camaro's body. Although overall it's a really good mold, it did have some prominent mold lines here across the B-pillars on the top, which I've already sanded off and gotten rid of. It had a mold line here at the seam where, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me see if I can zoom that in and give you a little better look at it. There, you can see the seam where the front bumper splits from the fender. On this side, the seam carried all the way down across the air dam here. Where on the real car, it doesn't have it because this air dam is a separate part. So it should be like this side. The seam coming from the front bumper to the fender, and then the air dam is one solid piece going around. So I had to put a little filler in here and sand it down. I had to add a little primer on it and see how well that came out, if it's going to need any more work to totally eliminate that seam line that's there. And for the filler, I used just a little bit of the Tamiya liquid surface primer, as it really goes in there and covers up very well for very light scratches. And since this engraving wasn't very deep, I think that should do a pretty good job of covering it up. Now, I did use my Tamiya engraving, engraving blades, the 1mm blade, to deepen the panel lines on the doors on the front fender. And now I just have to work on the panel line here for the rear bumper. Now on the rear bumper, it does carry over all the way to the bottom of the ground effects, unlike the front. So that seam is going to have to stay there. Now what I did notice is that there were a couple of imperfections in the rear bumper here and here, which I'm going to have to work on to clean those up. Other than that, it's really not a bad molding at all for the body. Yes, it could be a little crisper and a little sharper, but overall it's not bad. Just needs a little bit of cleaning up as far as the panel line goes. Deepen them up a little bit, and it should be a-okay. So we're going to keep working on that for a little bit long. Alright guys, now we're going to lay some primer. As you can see, I've darkened in the panel lines here, so that hopefully it'll add a little bit of shadowing as we go along. We'll see when the primer sets up. Just a little experiment to see if that's going to show through the primer or not. If not, then we'll do it again just before we lay our paint down, and that's going to darken in all of our panel lines. And you can also see that there is no shine left on the body because I did scuff up the entire body just to make sure that the primer has something that it can bite into. So we're going to lay the primer down and prime up some of our other parts and get this thing ready to move along to paint. Alright guys, so here we have the finished product of all the work we've done so far. You can see on the Camaro how really cool this looks with all the detail work done. It's just mocked up right now. Nothing's really glued in or set in stone, as I just wanted to see how the parts all fit after the painting. And you can see how really cool the exhaust looks. We've got our burned in effects. This is the stuff that I didn't get a chance to record due to my little camera mishap and my airbrush mishap. Yeah, it was a good night in the paint booth yesterday. But you can see here where I've added all of the heat staining and shading to the exhaust system. Here you can see the drive shaft, a little bit of darkening there and there, just to add a little bit of shadows, some more heat staining here. And you can see the aluminum, the polished aluminum has a really nice metallic shine to it in the areas that are not heat stained. I think it just gives it a lot of detail and just really looks cool underneath it. I mean, you wouldn't think that this is just a simple, basically snap kit with very few parts. I mean, after all, if you think about it, the rear suspension is just one part. The front suspension is just one part. Then you have the exhaust and the trunk. So you're basically looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to fill out the entire chassis on this car. But as you see, with a little bit of paint work and some really nice detailing, it just really, I think, looks cool. Is it 100% accurate? Probably not. But I wasn't really concerned with that, as I was just making something that's really cool to look at and visually interesting underneath. I mean, as you can see, the engine under here, the entire drivetrain just looks nice, and there's just something to look at every inch of the car. From the rivets in the floor, I highlighted all the engraved parts of the paneling with some Tamiya panel line paint. All the shadows that have been added just to darken it in and give it a sense of scale, which is the main reason that I do the shadows, just to add a little bit of sense of scale to make it look more like the light is hitting it where it's supposed to. Again, I wish I could have recorded all of that, as I did here on the trunk panel, where I did the shading in. It also ages the metal, the plastic a little bit to look like a little bit older metal. Not new, not clean, but not old and rusted out. So it really gives it a nice realistic tone, I think. So I'm very, very happy with the way this came out. And I can't wait to keep going with this kit. This Camaro was really shaping up to be a really fun build. So now let's take a look at the GTO. Now, the GTO is a much more complex kit than the Camaro, as it's got a lot more parts. You'll be building the front and rear suspensions, which I haven't gotten to yet. But as you can see here, I've also done the shading so that when everything's put together, this is all going to be darker, as it'll be the places where the light really won't hit it very much. So as you're looking at the car, if you're looking at it on display somewhere and you can see the undercarriage, you'll have all of these shadows, and again, it just adds a little bit of scale to the car. So I'm very happy with the way this came out. The frame fully painted, the shadowing, the trunk, the fuel tank, which I did the same sort of procedure that I did on the Camaro, with darkening it in on the edges, using the all-clad burnt carbon, which adds a really nice dark tone, very lightly spraying it with light applications of the airbrush until it just starts to darken until you get the look you want. So I'm very happy with the way both of these came out, and I can't wait to get further on the GTO and really get this chassis put together. So that's it for this video, as we got the Camaro really doesn't have much left to do because there ain't that many parts in it. So we may be finishing the Camaro first, but unfortunately we have a massive snowstorm that's hitting us right now, so there won't be any painting getting done on the body of the Camaro. I mean, as you saw in this video, we got it all primed and ready, but no painting getting done until the weather clears up a little bit. So what we're going to do is concentrate for the next episode on probably the suspension components and chassis of the GTO, and then deciding what we're going to do with these Camaro wheels. Haven't decided yet. But like I said, this is a very fun kit. It's a very, very simple kit. And if you build it straight out of the box, this Camaro, you can get it done in a weekend. But this, I find, for me, is a lot more fun. Alright, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. And remember, like, subscribe. Let's see if we can get this channel to grow a little bit more. Trying to hit 2,000 subscribers, hopefully, at some point. So tell me what you think. Do you like what I'm doing with these chassis? Do you like the way they look? What do you think of my shading technique? Let me know in the comments. And I'll see you guys on the next one.